And the right side, we've just come down from Ta Som. Now we're going to East Mebon. So each of the corners at East Mebon on the main wall has a big elephant, which is a different motif, on the walls at least. And here we are looking at the main central temple compound, bracketed by lines. Probably this area through here that we're looking at was some kind of a causeway, I would bet. Here are the lions, here are the entry lines, and probably an alcove of these columns that were probably covered entering this preliminary building. And you notice it goes off left and right standard. There's something we don't often see, but a drainage system. I do know that I had pointed out a drainage system in one of the earlier compounds. This is our corner elephant, maybe a third the size of the regular elephant. And just for fun, I'm going to approach the temple complex on the inside from the left side. Not that it should be much different. They're usually symmetrical on 4 quadrants. Here it looks like they're trying to preserve the lion. Okay, through this doorway and into this building. What remains of it. And here we're approaching a few more terrace levels. Nothing novel here, except the elephant motif is very powerful here. So completely predictable, heavily worn and eroded away, but Mount Meru and its sub-peaks, etc., etc. Here we can see a little bit of the remains, of at least the foundation of the temple buildings that were here, with columns that would have been covered. I mean, covering an alcove or covering the building, if you will. Might have even had a roof on it, like the ones that we saw as early as Ayutthaya and Sukhothai in Thailand. Okay, I'm inside this complex now, and this first entry building has overtones, if you will, of that building, or the complex in Angkor Thom, Bayonne, that had all the large faces. Here, the same idea, only 4 faces. Again, to give that sense of I'm the king and I'm looking down on you, I have awesome power. Okay, here I'm crossing the moat on a modern wood bridge, because the moat here, or the causeway crossing this moat area, its original, has been totally destroyed, almost totally destroyed by the trees. And its entryway is under repair and restoration. Here, a very simple wall design. And here's the original entry building. Notice they've restored that wall a bit and the area around it, and are doing an outstanding job of restoring the causeway down to this first temple complex. Here the trees demonstrate their power by deconstructing this wall. A huge tree that it is. Look how little foliage there is up at the top of it, though. Here the detail on this wall parrots, at least that niche there, so those niches, the niches we saw on the wall as a form of decoration. What goes in those niches, I can't tell. It doesn't look like they were carved, so maybe they were each painted. It's still used as a shrine. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like when they're done. And whether those are totally new pieces or just restored pieces, or a combination. Looks like a combination. But whether they get painted or have some stucco carved detail on them when they're done, we don't know. Here, like the other site that I looked at, whose name I can't remember, the key here is the trees that are being allowed to dismantle the complex along with normal weathering. Here we can see the root, how it's come through, and probably how it's now wedging apart that part of the structure, ultimately forcing it to topple. We're now inside one of these corbelled ceilings, and again, notice compared to that other temple that was so heavily overgrown, how rough the rock is inside here. So what did they do with the ceiling, if anything, to make it look better? Or was it so dark in here they didn't have to care? And it looks like the red on this large outer wall was original coloring. Almost looks like a giant snake. Be interesting to see what they end up with in the restoring if they cleaned it all off. Now will they put more plaster on there and restore the design? I would hope so. I'm looking for an exterior wall exit.
In Indonesia?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Mebon. I'm fixing to buy a home in Penang, Malaysia.
This is the remains of a long arcade that had columns and covering like you can see here. And this was that front entrance where they're working on the causeway. There you can see the new piece. Okay, now I'm on the outside. I'll roam around, find a bathroom tree somewhere. Right there you can see the old sides of the moat, and back there another exterior wall for this whole big compound. Here are these huge trees dismantling the wall. So I'm outside the inner wall. I walked through the abandoned moat, crossed over this wall through here. Now it looks like there's either another moat or this was the original grade. And that looks like a toilet over there. See that big vertical thing that looks like a tree? Okay, the temple compound is over there. We're looking across the original moat, and two interesting things. One is this line of columns, and as you can see, it extends all the way down. So I'm guessing that there was a colonnade here, and there were some sub-buildings. You can see a structure there. This may have in fact been an entire causeway up here. Looking this way, even more evidence. There's columns on the right, columns on the left. Second thing that's interesting, notice these big steel cables. They go up and attach to the trees up there, apparently to prevent them from toppling. But I also just noticed that there's a whole framework of scaffolding up there. What could that be for? Are they pruning that tree? Do they intend to tie it together so the beams, so that the limbs can't fall in the future? Here's a third little interesting thing. Notice this vine looks pretty innocuous at this point, but it's creeped up the side of that tree, and it may in the future climb to the top, and the two may grow together into that combination we've seen before. Okay, now we're down at the bottom of the moat. Probably it was deeper. It's probably been filled in over the centuries by muddy monsoon water. This looks like a typical archaeological dig. Be interesting to know what they found, if anything. Okay, this long pathway that we're looking down now, and probably about a quarter to a third of it is behind me, would have been, as we've seen before, a causeway, probably with nagas or with statues or something along that line. Okay, where I am right now is right at that intersection where you see Banteay Kdei and then Banteay Sras Srang. That's in blue because it's a reservoir. So I'm going to go visit the temple first, which is on the left, and then take a view of that reservoir and then into Siem Reap, back home. Okay, this entryway looks pretty much like the last temple we looked at. I don't know if it's the same faces or not. Don't appear to be the emphasis on ears that we saw a little earlier. And there's the wall, fairly well intact. Same kind of little doodads up on top, whatever they are. Okay, I've just entered this entry temple. What's interesting is that there are these steps, very narrow, but they were well decorated, up to the entrance. It makes me wonder whether, in most of the other temples I've been in, had the grade been filled in by debris up to that point that I'd gone in at, which was much higher. Again, notice we're looking down an area that would have been somehow decorated, probably paved, nagas on the side, maybe statues, columns, who knows, to get down to the main complex. I'm videoing this tree not because I care about the tree, but I want to be able to hear this music, because sometimes it gets to the point where it's so incredibly discordant that I wonder if it's in fact music. Some local artists' artwork. This would be a pretty postcard, actually. But he does nice work if you've got the means to carry this much stuff back with you. It's pretty simplistic in the sense of the coloring, particularly those dramatic reds and blues and so forth. But the detail looks very nice. Whether these are somehow paint in the numbers or not, I don't know. Down here you can see a remnant of that causeway, but not much of one, and it was elevated a bit. Noticing the great similarity between these and the ones that are just a few shops down, I'm guessing that these are mass-produced somehow. Very interesting. The first time we get to see what the entry platform might have looked like. There might have been a building here, but all of these statues and nagas, haven't seen that much to my knowledge. It was fun. I overheard some Spanish, which I've only heard a couple of times, and these folks are from Mexico City, so it was fun to sit and chat with them for a bit. Standing on a platform that has most of its naga heads, enough so that we can really get a sense of how these might have looked. And the raised portion, what I'm calling the causeway, is clearly evident here. And here, a relatively modest moat, although about the same size as the one you saw moments ago that I was down in the middle of. I don't think I'll go down in the middle of this. When I wandered these places, and they get to be very redundant, and you ask, why do I keep doing it? It's because moment to moment you may discover something you haven't seen before, like this nicely done entryway that I'm just about to leave. Here's the lovely scent of some kind of incense in the columns. Here's some nice detail left, and you can see that inside these windows or whatever, there was some kind of decoration, some kind of character that was reproduced over and over again. And then if you look at the stone above, it isn't just as bad as it looks. They had actually worked the stone into a vertical face and then a beveled face, etc., etc., etc. It was not intended to be smooth like the one we saw that was so smooth. And here, again, the causeway that we've seen is in quite good condition, but this temple in quite good condition with the large columns still standing. We can see how these buildings were created. That's nice to see. Again, here in my last temple that I intend to look at here in Siem Reap, at least, we're learning new things. And here again, no surprise, doorway after doorway after doorway. This is almost, that's a nice doorway. Anyway, can't see you too far. Oh, now we can see down there quite a way beyond that fellow. So this almost seems to be a replica of the ones we just looked at this morning. Again, these columns still in position. That's nice to see. Nice to see. Notice there's detail on there, I think. Let's see. Yep. See here. Detail there. Detail here. This part left open, probably either painted a solid color, more likely some kind of graphic there. Here we can see graphics on these columns. Is it possible that all of them had this kind of graphic? I don't think so. Those seem to be quite different. Here the wall. I'm not sure if the general public could wander down through this cloister, for lack of a better term, although I think it was covered. I think there was a complete cover over the top with the corbelled roof and so forth. But was this area only for priests of the highest order? We know the higher, superior areas were limited to their use. Papa, United States?
Dancing hole, dancing room.
Yeah, nice detail. And my friend here points out that this Apsarar has a snake that she's dancing with, that rope-like thing goes around her neck. And this he refers to, maybe his idea, I'm not sure, as the dancing room, because there are several graphics like this. But I think these ladies were always dancing. And he points out that these graphics have the lotus flower at the bottom, and all the other ones, temples we've been in, the great ones, don't have that. Yeah. This is a guardian Buddha. That's a Buddha?
Yeah, Buddha, the guardian here.
Okay.
Uncle, what Hindu? This one, the Buddha. Yeah.
So he points out that these may be original color. Maybe.
This one? No sing?
Oh, you can pick up the echo when he does it over on that side there.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. You wonder if that had any
Yeah.
relevance.
Cambodia, the Buddha, the Buddha.
Echo.
Yeah, echo.
Here he points out the Buddha, but with the head broken off by the Khmer Rouge, those evil scum. Here's some interesting detail of the elephant. So now we're at the other end, no surprises here. Now this is interesting because these look like linga. Were they? I don't know. Were these decorations on top of some walls? Don't know. You can see here is the opposite entrance. And I'm going to walk around the perimeter here just for the fun of it, since it's my last temple in Siem Reap before I go to Phnom Penh. So here's another chunk of that stuff. It might have been the top of this totally fallen in wall. We can see more here, so I'm pretty sure that that's correct. Yeah, I see more of those bases here. Over there, the remains of some of the wall of the moat. There's filled in with lily pads that once in a while probably spout forward some really beautiful flowers. But notice, here's the moat here. As I pan around, it appears that there's an inner moat also. So you see, this would have been a side entrance, and you would have come across a causeway across the moat, inner moat here. Here we see some outer wall with lingas still on it.
Hello, you want to call drink?
I don't know what this is a platform. I'm not sure what it was used for, but this was a large reservoir which gave the king of this complex we just looked at a great deal of power. So we'll go up and see what. My guess is that there would have been some kind of a temple on top of this platform. Seems like obvious. Here would have been the temple itself, and perhaps colonnade around it, and it looked out onto this fairly large, not the largest for sure, I saw that the other day, hand dug reservoir surrounded by walls, and perhaps that's archaeological work going on over there. And probably this way down to the water was to make offerings in the water to the prosperity that the water would bring to the rice fields. This is also a way of ensuring that they get through a drought if one should happen to occur.